Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Choice is Your Superpower. Today, I get the great pleasure of talking about one of my favorite topics. But I wanted to kind of have a little recap here about choices. So if we think about choice as being your superpower, and there's our wonderful logo over the cloud, doesn't it look fancy? One of the things that I teach is that leaders make inspired choices, but really, successful people make inspired choices. High performers make inspired choices. You could fill this in with great parents make inspired choices. Great real estate people make inspired choices. Great single women make inspired choices. Great salespeople make inspired choices. We got in the background, we've got Joe doing a little clappy clappy thing. But the idea here really is, are you making inspired choices? And that's what we really want you to own, is making inspired choices. But today I get to talk about one of my favorite topics, and I'm going to call it the nerdification of the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction as an engineer was always a difficult thing for me to wrap my head around. And then I started realizing that there's a lot of misconceptions around the law of attraction. The biggest one is attraction. The last part of the word law of attraction, word attraction, is action. It's about taking action. So some people think they're just going to sit in their, in their cubicle and wish for a raise, or they're going to sit in their home and visualize a new Mercedes, and then it's just going to come to them. But it comes down to taking action. So I'm going to highlight my video. I'm going to stop sharing here for just a second. So here's the way I do the law of attraction in my nerdy way. So your mind is the greatest thinking machine ever invented. But you are in charge of the software. So I did software development. So I know you guys maybe weren't in software development, but I think most people know this. Garbage in. Anybody want to finish this for me? My friends here, Joyce, do you know what it is? Garbage in?
Garbage out.
Garbage out. So the thoughts you're thinking, the images you hold in your head, if you do those, you're programming this wonderfully fantastic machine in your head, and you're getting out garbage results. So what we want you to do is to take control of your thoughts, your behaviors, the images you hold in your head. This, for me, is what the law of attraction is. If I focus on things that are not serving me, I get out results that are not serving me. So that's essentially what I call the nerdification of the law of attraction. So what can we do differently? All right, so let me go back to my screen share. Let's see how seamless I make this. Okay.
Wait for it.
Wait for it, wait for it. All right. So here we go.
I really like that brain slide you got, Chris.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like the brain slide too. It kind of looked like my head, really, if you just blue and okay.
Just with thoughts and stuff.
So what we think about, we become. This is from Buddha. So law of attraction, whatever you think about, talk about, fantasize about, or give your attention to, you're going to attract more of in your life. So how do we do something different? Well, what I'm going to encourage you to do is have an exercise here. And that is to write down 3 victories from your past, 1 from each third of your life. So I'll kind of go through this as an example. So the first third of my life, let's say, about 17 years is about the blocks, just so you can get a rough idea of my age. For those of you who are going to do math, 51. First one I would say is when, and I'll go back to my, hang on, let me come back to my group of people here. So, and I'm going to want some of the other people to jump in here. For the first third of my life, the one that comes up for me is when we won a conference championship in basketball. And that was a big deal for me because I was an asthmatic kid, and I was the leading scorer and leading rebounder. So when we won that one, that certainly felt like a big victory in the first third of my life. Okay, the second third of my life was, I would say, was performing on Broadway. So I quit to become a stand-up comic. I performed at Caroline's in New York City. That was what I would call a big victory for me. So my next third of my life, if I were going to choose a victory for me, I would say, 1, getting married. That was a big victory. And having my first kid. So those are really things for me that I would say are, I always wanted to have kids. Finally chased down my wife, got married, and had kids. So those were kind of big victories for me. So Matt, maybe you can break down some victories that you had in your life.
Yeah, similar in my first third, it was pretty sports heavy as well. We won the city, county in soccer from St. Louis. It was a big soccer town. My family loves soccer, so it felt like I was accepted into the family because I am now a soccer star, in 8th grade, of course. So that was good. The second third, I think, was getting married.
Now we know why he's a perpetual 13-year-old. Because in 8th grade, it's like, that's when I felt like I was accepted.
Yeah, I'm what's that, Napoleon, Uncle Ricky Bobby or whatever. I peaked in 8th grade. So that was that victory. And then the second third, I'm going to have to go with the marriage and moving to New Mexico was another big one in the second third. And then in the third, I'm very proud that I decided I'm going to change my life and become a coach. So I took ownership and responsibility for my life finally, since the soccer thing didn't play out.
Time for change, right?
That's right. Nobody's calling, man.
Nobody's calling. All right, beautiful. Joanna, would you mind unpacking that for us also?
Sure. So, unpacking Matt's victories.
Thirds for you. Let's not.
No.
That could be a whole nother episode.
All the things that are in the news. Let's stay away from Matt's package.
That's right. I will log off.
So, for me, the first third was, I was kind of born an overachiever, but I got my pilot's license before I got my driver's license.
Wow.
So that was sort of an early, like, hey, I can do weird stuff that's cool and different. So it was, obviously that was an achievement, but it was also a big aha for me that anything's possible. I can't say I've lived that every year of my 44 years, but that particular thing was just, ask, work towards something and have it come about. My second third of my life, I would say, would just be the initial stages of education and career, of just getting that figured out and sorted and getting through college and graduate school and determining a path for my primary career, which is real estate. And the third I would say is definitely just coming into my own and owning that, loving myself for real, not just being an overachiever to get other people's acceptance, but to figure out what fuels me, and certainly sharing this work with the world and working with you guys and creating my coaching programs inside of my profession of real estate and then outside as well. So again, it was sort of I wouldn't say full circle, but maybe we're at a semicircle of anything's possible. I don't have to give up my past successes to enjoy my current passions. So finding an opportunity to blend those, I'd say, was my biggest success in this last third so far.
All right, beautiful. All right, that brings us down to the lovely and talented Joyce. Joyce.
So my first third, I was a cheerleader, which was fun and exciting, but I think my biggest excitement one of my biggest victories, I, going to the Nerdification, won a spelling bee, regional spelling bee. I say now, unfortunately, that spell check has ruined me, but back in the day, I was good. I had a great ability in the spelling world. My second third, I think, would also be moving across the country. I packed up my stuff, moved from Detroit to beautiful Southern California, and I have not regretted 1 minute of it. So that was a big, scary thing to do, but I did that. And then I kind of fell into my career backwards. I got the job, got the career, did that for many, many years, and then I decided I wanted the degree. So I got my degree later in life. So my third was just going back and getting that degree for me. And now I've always been a voracious learner, but I wanted that piece of paper. So I did that for me, and now I'm continuing on. My next journey will be continuing my education. So there's a lot more to come, a lot more victories to come our way.
All right, beautiful. So one, thank you all for sharing. Again, for those of you listening to us online, the idea here is really whatever those victories are for you, we want you to remember those things because we want you to have more victories in your life. So when you sometimes go back and look at the victories you've had in your life, you go, wow, you know, I've done some stuff, and it can be different for you, whether it's sports or, you know, flying or getting a degree or performing. What are those victories for you? Everybody has something. That's why we want you to draw attention to those ideas. All right, so now, once again, I'm going to go back to my screen share.
Hey, nice, man.
All right, so look, almost seamless. So 3 things. I would like you also to write down 3 things that if you achieve them would feel like victories. So you've had victories in the past. What would be 3 things that you could do that would be victories? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause our video here for a moment, and I would like you to write those down. So we're going to pretend it pauses. Everybody freeze for just a second. And we're back. So because I can't figure out the pause button on here. So this is the exercise I'd like you to do to kind of get you in that, you know, juicy thing, thinking about victories. And the next thing I would like you to do is I would like you to share these with a friend. So we shared ours with you. One of the important things is sharing what some victories that you had. Talk to your friends, ask them what victories they had, just like I did here with Matt, Joanna, and Joyce. And then 3 things that if you achieve them would feel like victories. All right, so let's go to that one. So I'm gonna go now. We'll do a little unpacking of 3 things that if you achieve them would feel like victories. All right. So things that I would achieve if they feel like victories. One is for me is buying a Tesla. So I would like an electric car, or when our next car comes on lease, my intention is to have an electric car. So I have solar panels, electric car. I'm a bit of I should say I'm a tree hugging nerd. I'm an environmental engineer. So having an electric car and solar panels for me would feel like a real victory. The other one is for me is to do a one-man show. So I actually just made a contact with someone down in San Juan Capistrano who owns the local playhouse. So my intention is to put on a one-man show. So that would feel like a real victory for me. So there's 2 for me. I'd probably do one more. One more victory for me would be speaking 100 times this coming year. So I want 100 speaking engagements, whether it's stand-up comedy or whether I'm doing talks on the success principles or these ideas of choice being your superpower. So those are 3 victories for me. So I'm going to put people on the spot. Who should I put on the spot first? I'm looking around. Matt's hiding. Matt's hiding. He's first. When you hide,
you are a teacher, man.
I was a teacher. Anybody's like, you know what I did? Just a little aside here. When I was teaching, like when I was a student, if I didn't know the answer, I would raise my hand, like, I have got the answer, and because I knew that my teachers wouldn't call on me. And I got called out one time. I go, Chris, you just look so ready for this. I'm like, because I'm like, I was
Oh, that's funny.
And what is that? That's act as if, right?
I know.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
I remember my teacher looking at me. It was in AP English, and him looking at me like, well, that's an interesting approach, Chris. I don't know if I quite agree with it, but you know, we could talk about it later. I'm like, well, you know, just my thoughts on this book that I didn't read. So, just saying. All right. So anyway, a little side story there, Matt. Come on.
That's all right.
What would be 3, do you think, victories for you?
3 victory. One I'm working on is I want to have the 20 paid speeches by the end of March. I am part of the National Speakers Association, and I want to be on the national level, and that's what it takes to get to the national level is just 20 speeches. So that's one, and that'd be a big victory because that would take me up a notch in that organization, get to meet a lot of other cool people and do more fun things. So that'd be a good step there. Number 2 would be eating for 30 days a clean diet. I have struggled with that. It's been like, you know, the whole way. So like 1 30-day stretch, I think would do wonders for me. And then I'm also making a goal to run a mile in 7 minutes. Right now I can't do that. So those are some health related and professional, but those would be 3 big victories for me right now.
All right, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's try Joyce this time. We'll save Joanna for last.
So for me, I lovingly call my condo Thumbelina's Cottage. it's the cutest little place, but it has 0 storage. And so that an upgrade in my homestead, although I love where I live, an upgrade somewhere where I have a nice kitchen and a little more space would be good. So upgrading my home would be good. That would be a big victory for me. I think.
What, Joyce? Upgrade it to what? What specifically?
Thanks for the challenge. I think doubling my size right now. I'm in 680 square feet here in Southern California, which is really prime real estate.
Yeah.
If I lived in the Midwest, I could probably get a 5-bedroom home for what I have here. But I love it. But so I would I think 3 bedrooms, a nice, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, nice, a nice sized kitchen, a tub that I can soak in would be nice.
I'd like for you to have a guest room. A guest room sounds great.
Exactly. Well, and yes. And my family comes from the place where there's always room for one more. So even in Thumbelina's cottage, we have room for one more. But getting off topic here. So that's my upgrade. I think secondly would be to be taking this message internationally. I think we're doing a great job here with our team, but I'd love to see it go international. I think we have a lot to share. I think there's a lot of important information to get out there. So taking it on the road, taking it internationally would be a big win for me. Number three, putting a ring on it.
Well, we're gonna go.
Nice, Joyce.
Put
it out there, right?
There you go. That's right.
Great. Love it.
Joanna, thank you for sharing, Joyce.
You bet. Yeah, Joyce, I love that. We'll get to the buy wins here next round.
Absolutely.
So one of the big victories I'd love to see for us or for me by myself, but I'd rather do it with the team, is to be in front of an audience of 10,000 or more live. That's a big goal for 2018 for me.
Awesome.
The second one would be to get my Tulsa house paid off for Happy Hollow to be mortgage free, so I can do some of the fun things that I want to do there, and get a book published.
Nice.
Those would be 3 big victories for me this year. December 31st rolls around next year. I'd be pretty darn excited and probably spending it somewhere warm, maybe with Joyce, and maybe we'd be in, I don't know, Mexico, international retreat.
Celebrating her engagement.
Yes. Oh, we'd be at her wedding and do a speaking gig on the side while we're there to 10,000 or more people in Mexico.
Right? I love
Bahamas.
it. I love it.
We're going to need an interpreter because I really know about cerveza. That's about a limit of my Spanish right now. All right. Well, thank you all for sharing. All right. Beautiful. All right. So now you've got an idea here. Again, I would encourage you to pause. We'll do our freeze here. And welcome back. So write down those 3 things you've written them, and then remember to share them with a friend. So here's some strategies for, again, the law of attraction, attracting things that would be victories for you. So what did you have in the past? What do you want in your future? So those are kind of the key pieces for really engaging the law of attraction. Now I have another exercise for you. Because,
Chris,
I'm a teacher.
Can I add one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
In the share with a friend, that's one of the reasons we have our private Facebook group. So if you're still new to this, or you haven't got your core 5 people around you that are supporting you, a safe space is on our private Facebook group, and sharing with a friend in that space is invited as well. Plus, it's fun to see what the other people in this group are experiencing and winning on. So thanks for letting me chime in there.
That is such a great point, because you are going to find like-minded people that are going to support you through that group.
Yep. And that's the idea. You're not in this alone. So thank you, Joanna and Joyce, for reminding us that we want you to engage. right? And if you don't have necessarily the giant support network around you, we're here to support you. So thank you for that. All right, the next thing I have is what brings you joy? So you've had some victories. What brings you joy? So what I would like you to do, joy is kind of a clue that you're on the right path. So I'll kind of come back here for my share here. So I tell people now when they ask me, so what do you do? I say, I love to do two things, and I love to teach and make people laugh. And luckily, I found a job that allows me to do both of those things. So that's what brings me joy is I love that moment I loved it when I was a school teacher, when I saw someone get it, and I was teaching math, and that light bulb go off. I'm like, oh, that for me is what joy is. Right? So now when, we're working on this, teaching these concepts to people, to see people go, oh, I was just recently speaking in Las Vegas, and I took some of the people that were participating, I took them out to dinner, and I sat down with them, and just to have them have that awareness and that look in their, they're like, oh gosh, Chris, yeah, that's, oh gosh, that's really important to me. That light bulb will go off. That is what brings me joy. That's what I'm passionate about. Those are the moments that I'm chasing here, and that I'm hoping that you're experiencing as you're hearing us share what brings us joy. And then, of course, making people laugh. I love being up on stage, and when I'm doing stand-up comedy and people are laughing, that is a moment. I just got the goosebumps. Someone called the God bumps, whatever.
Wow.
I would say it's my subconscious telling me that I'm on the right path. So the goosebumps I'm doing it. These are the things that bring me joy. So, how can you not start with someone whose name starts with joy when you're talking about?
Oh, good one.
That's right. What brings you Joyce?
What brings you joy?
Apparently a ring will bring you joy.
You know what? I already have joy. That's the good thing. I'm bringing that with me.
There you go.
What brings me joy? Again, to echo you, sharing this information and watching the ahas and watching the light bulbs go off fills me so much. When I see somebody that something clicks for them, and then as I get to watch them put it into action and see their lives change because of it, that's a really big. I had this much to do because it's your work that you did, but to see and to hear the stories and to have that come back and say, when I put this into action, this is what happened for me, and to see someone else fulfill their potential and knowing that I had this much to do with it, that for me just fills my cup. That's huge. And then on a personal note, I have a bazillion adopted nieces and nephews, friends and families, kids, and all of that. And the sound of a kid laughing, nothing like it. So those are the two things that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right, beautiful.
Nice, Joyce. Nice.
And you notice what she said there, when people put it into, what was that word again? I'm sorry, what was it again? When people put your ideas into action. Right. The law of attraction. This is what we're talking about, action. So we don't want this to just be an intellectual exercise. We want you to do the exercises and put these concepts into action. So thank you, Joyce, for sharing. I'm going to go in opposite order here. How about you, Joanna? What brings you joy? I think I have a clue. I'm writing down mentally in my head what I think you might say, but okay, go ahead.
Well, I can echo what Joyce is saying about when we contribute our piece as a coach or trainer or change maker leader, and you see people get excited, and for me, the joy is when they circle back and say, because you reminded me about this, I did this. They took action on some inspired ideas, and to hear the stories that come out of that, that's my joy. When they tell me their vision board came to life, or when they share with me a vision, and I just know that it's going to happen, and help encourage them on that space. That's how I know that this coaching, teaching, and training life is for me. And second of all would be when my friends and family acknowledge and respect and appreciate the work that I'm doing. When my kids can tell me what it is that they've learned from me or from our experiences together. And the other night I was putting my youngest to bed, and I said, I was just having one of those mom days, like, just tell me something I'm doing right. Just give me 3 things. I was trying not to overwhelm him with, this heavy question before bed. But he said, Mom, this house and our dinner and my warm clothes. And I just was like, okay, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And just the fact that he didn't even hesitate. And he's like, I could come up with a lot more. And I was like, I'm good with that. I'm good. Because I didn't want to hear about the PlayStation or the bikes or, but that was, recently I would say that's one of my biggest joys, is just knowing that, yes, I'm impacting the world, but it's also happening under my own roof.
Wow, that's awesome.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Matthew.
My 2 biggest joys are chocolate and 80s music.
Nice. How
There
do
you
you
go.
monetize those
There
things?
you go. I don't. It's like, it's like personal. So mine are entertaining people and inspiring people, kind of like you guys. It's like I like that moment, because I feel like a lot of people I know anyway are wound up. They got stress of the world, stress of the job, stress of the family, and if I can just kind of alleviate that, and you see that, like, oh, they laugh at you or they smile or they're entertained, and then when you inspire them to do something different, that's what I like. So that's why I think coaching is going to be good for me. So
I think it's going to be good for you too.
and chocolate.
And chocolate and 80s music.
After your 30 days of eating clean.
That's right. Yeah.
So
That's part of my food group.
If you get a chance to see Matthew live, you'll know that his intro music is going to be, what is it?
I can't wait. I want to hear you say it.
I don't know. Was it going to be Duran Duran, maybe?
It'll be a one-hit wonder for sure.
Something like that.
I can do a playlist right now for all of us. Good stuff.
That's right.
Well, children
What brings you joy? You already answered that?
Again, one thing I want you to notice is, did you notice when we were talking about things that brought us joy, the smile that's on our faces when we talked about it? It was really kind of interesting. One that jumped out for me was when Joanna talked about hers. Just the smile on her face was so genuine. She's like, oh, that is what you're looking for. That's the law of attraction. You want to create those moments for yourselves. This is what we want to encourage you to do. This is something you have control over. What brings you joy? Look, you know what also brings me joy? Playing basketball with my son. I don't know if there's a way for me to monetize that, but I love doing it. So I make sure that I have moments in my day, in my week, to do that with my son. And then playing cards with my kids. I just haven't figured out how to monetize those 2. That's why I stuck with, teaching and making people laugh, because I figure I can make money off of those. But there's other things that make you joy. Even if you can't think of something necessarily in your work that'll do that. So personal things that bring you joy, work that brings you joy. Again, thank you everybody for sharing. So let's get back to my sharing of the screen. Look at this. It's becoming almost seamless now. It's like I'm a professional. All right, what brings you joy? Joy is at your own pace, Beth. So let's get an exercise around this so we can really nail this down. Again, I would like you to write down 3 things that bring you joy and then share with a friend. So I'm going to ask you to pause right now. Again, we'll do our pause. And then come back. And then share those with a friend. Again, to Joanna and Joyce's point, share that on the Facebook page. But go out and share it. That piece of sharing really kind of makes quite a bit of difference for people. It really kind of anchors it down. And I'm going to ask our panel here in a moment to kind of unpack that. So now that you know what victory looks and feels like, now that you know it brings you joy, what do you think you should do? Now it's time to take action, both obvious and inspired. Just so you understand, inspired action was me walking in to talk to the superintendent of our schools and telling him that I'd like to do a presentation for the school, for the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So that was an inspired action. Obvious action is, hey, you know what? I want to become a professional speaker. I want to follow up, or I want to do the one-man show. I want to follow up with the person that owns the theater down in San Juan Capistrano. So that's an obvious action. Inspired action is that thing that hits you in that moment. And I'll just end with this one. I love this quote, and you might have seen it in another one of my slides, and again, it's from Theodore Roosevelt. In the moment of decision, the best thing you do is the right thing. The next best thing you do is the wrong thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. It's about action. This is where people get confused on the law of attraction. It's about taking action and getting that momentum and focusing on things that give you joy and make you happy. So there is the nerdification of the law of attraction. I hope you got a lot out of this. I'm going to stop my share here real quick, go back to the team. So what was your big ahas from, hopefully you had big ahas. Please tell me that you had big ahas. I'm feeling insecure right now. So play it.
I would say for me is the reminder that the word action is in the word of law of attraction, because law of attraction, I think, as it plays out in the common world, we hear about it. It sounds so mysterious. It sounds so like, when I'm using it, I'm afraid to tell people I'm using it. And we think of movies like The Secret, where it opens and you're driving and you're looking for the parking space, and you're telling yourself there's the perfect parking space here. Well, if you were not taking action to drive through the parking lot, you wouldn't be finding the perfect parking spot. And so I think law of attraction, we tend to think is an internal exercise, an internal thought. And this is a reminder to me that it takes external action to make it happen. So thank you for that, the way you've pointed it out, Chris. Things we know, but just reminders.
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you. Matt, Joyce?
I'll go, Joyce. You wait. You be the cleanup hitter. One thing, it just dawned on me, and you kind of touched on it at the end there, Chris, is one thing that was really beneficial for me is acknowledging when it happens. The more you acknowledge the law of attraction working, the more you're open to it. Kind of like you said, then the more you're going to bring in of the law of attraction. Just like Joanna just said, I want to get rock star parking when I go to the supermarket. So every time there's a spot waiting for me, thank you, law of attraction, I brought that on. That's what I wanted. Small thing. It's nothing big, but it's working. So next time I say, oh, I want this, and then that pops up, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you, law of attraction. So that's one thing I've worked on over probably the last year, is just acknowledging it. Because I think, like you said, when you're aware that it's happening and you see it and you thank for it and you're grateful for it, then more and more of the manifestation will happen. Go ahead, Joyce.
So thank you. For me, it goes back to the action piece of it and the acknowledgement piece of it. Both, I think you have to be intentional. And part of the action might just be, as Joanna mentioned, vision boarding. Taking the action to really visualize what you want and to continue to have that in your brain. We talked in an earlier module on how your brain will start working on things subconsciously for you as well, but you have to kind of remind yourself. And so the law of attraction is putting that into action. It's the putting it out there, reminding yourself, whether it be a list of things that you write down, of qualities of the person that you want to attract into your life, putting a ring on it, and or the vision board of the beautiful home that you want, or the job that you want, or all of those things. Taking action can be as simple as looking over your list or spending time with that vision board every day. That might be the first small step to then help you to take the next steps and the next steps and the next steps. So it definitely is not a law of sitting on my couch. It is a law of attraction action. Nobody's going to come knock on my door and say, here are the keys to your new house. No one's going to come to your house, Chris, and give you the Tesla. And unless you're putting things out there, you're putting it out into the universe and you're making things happen. And that's part of the law of attraction.
Yeah. Nice.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm one of the things that I always I challenge people when they say, "Oh, I just got lucky," and I actually learned this from a friend of mine. And I was telling him when I got my first job in corporate as a corporate trainer, and I used to say, "Oh, it's just dumb luck," and he goes, "No, Chris, I don't believe in luck." He says, "You were prepared for that moment and you took action." And I haven't told this story, I believe, before, so I'll tell it here. So when I was school teaching, my wife was working at a Fortune 50 company, a medical device company, and she was a project manager. Quite honestly, she would talk to me about her job, and I'd just do like this. I had no clue what she did for a living. She would talk to me, and it was just way over my head. I'm teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, right? And we're walking the dog one time, and she starts complaining. She's like, oh my goodness. She says, I don't know what we're gonna do. we had to fire our trainer. We're 6 months from going live. And I said, oh, hold on a second. You know, train who? Train what? What are you going to train them to? She's like, well, it's all the people on the manufacturing line. We've got this software we're train them to. We're going to train all the managers. We're going to train all the engineers. And I looked at her and I said, I can do that job. Now, is that the law of attraction? Like that came to me? Like, I don't know if I was looking for it, but I took action in that moment. And that's what led me to a career in corporate training. So is that the law of attraction? Is that luck? Or is it that when the opportunity came to me, I took an action step? And that's led me to this point here talking to you. So again, I want to emphasize to you, I really don't believe in luck. I think luck favors the prepared. And I was prepared in that moment to say something. And just so to finish the story, just, you know, when I said that to my wife, who loves me dearly, she looked at me like she was Robert De Niro. She was like, you want to come into my world, Mr. Funny Man, Mr. You know, you teach 7th and 8th grade, and now you want to come and you want to come into my highly regulated world. I mean, she was not excited necessarily about this idea that I brought forward. And I said, look, if you think about it, I have the perfect background for a corporate trainer. I, you know, have a degree in engineering, so I can understand the math. I'm not afraid of public speaking because I did stand-up comedy and acting. And I'm a teacher, so I know how to put together a lesson plan. So if you think about it, I'm really well prepared to be a corporate trainer. So I was ready in those moments, but I had done those pieces before because those were places of interest for me. So I think what we want to do is you really want to think about what makes you passionate. What are victories that you had? What brings you joy? And when you do that, these opportunities come to you and you take action on them. That for me is a law of attraction, right? And I love what you said, Matt, and I just want to finish that one, is acknowledge it. So I acknowledge that as a moment of the law of attraction, right? I took action, but I attracted that opportunity came in front of me. If I wasn't looking for it or wasn't prepared for it, I would go, oh yeah, that sucks for you, honey. You know, good luck for you. And I wouldn't be here today. So that is what we're talking about when law of attraction. Thank you so very much. We look forward to speaking to you in the next module. Thank you to my teammates here. Really appreciated your insights also. Take care.